Today, our Bible class will be about Solomon.
For 40 years, King David had ruled the people of Israel. When the time came for him to die, he called his son Solomon to his bedside, and he gave the rules of the kingdom into his hands. It was a heavy task for the young prince, for Israel was a great nation. But his father reminded him that the Lord would give him wisdom and understanding. David said, "There is much work for you to do, my son, but above all, don't forget to walk in God's ways and obey his commandments." It was a happy day for the people of Israel when Solomon was made king. Trumpets blew and the people shouted. Solomon was a good king. One night, the Lord appeared to Solomon in a dream and said, "Ask what I shall give you." Solomon was filled with wonder, but he didn't hesitate. He told the Lord he wanted to be a good, upright king, like his father David, but he didn't know how to rule a great nation. So he asked God to give him wisdom to do what was right. God was pleased when Solomon asked for wisdom rather than riches and promised him great wisdom and an understanding heart. God also promised to bless Solomon with honor and wealth if he obeyed his commandments. Solomon realized that truly the Lord had spoken to him, and he praised God. "Happy is the man that finds wisdom and understanding," he said. Soon, Solomon's wisdom was put to the test.
This woman and I live in the same house. I gave birth to my baby while she was in the house. 3 days later, she gave birth to her babies. We were alone in the house. No one was with us. This woman's son died of the night, so she took my son from my side and switched them for her son that had died. When I woke up to feed him, I saw he was dead. But when I looked closer, he was not my baby. No, the living one is my son and the dead one is your son.
Bring me a sword. Divide the living child in two and give half to one mother and the other to the other mother.
Then the woman, whose son was living, spoke to the king.
"No, my king! Give her the living child and by no means kill him. Let him be neither mine nor yours, but divided."
Give the first woman the living child and by no means kill him, for he is his mother.
When the people heard the story, they knew their king was the wisest man in the world. I will be reading from 1 Kings 3:28. And all Israel heard of the judgment which the king had rendered, and they feared the king, for they saw that the wisdom of God was in him to administer justice.
I want to congratulate those from Walter Hill who have already said all 66 books of the Bible. That would be Will and Kayla, Wrigley, Grant, and Martin. And your names are up here on our board for having said them. I wanted to congratulate Josie for saying her books of the Bible. She had already said all of her New Testament books and got her name up on our New Testament side, but Miss Natalie and Mr. Brian said that she said her Old Testament books too. So she has said all 66 books. So I'm going to put her name up under the Old Testament now. Good job, Josie. So if you are a Walter Hill kid, you know you're out of school now, and this would be a great time to work hard on learning those books of the Bible. And today we're going to work on doing that together. Now, let's do the Old Testament together first. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth. 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, Daniel, Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. Now, to learn them, the easiest thing to do is try to learn them in chunks at first. So if you start out by saying Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, that gives the first few books of the Bible. And when you get all of those learned, then you add a little more at a time. So next time you would go Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth. Now, after you've said that part and you've gotten that over and over until you know it all, then add the next group. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles. That gets all of the 1st and 2nds all in one little chunk. And once you know all the way through 1st and 2nd Chronicles, then you can add the next little section. Are you ready to start over with me? Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, Isaiah, Jeremiah. I know I added a lot that time, but they always seem to kind of blend together to me, so that's a good spot for me to stop at Jeremiah. Now you say that part over and over till you feel like you've got it, and then you add some more. Ready to start again? Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel. So you've added Ezekiel now. We're getting into some of the prophets. So after Ezekiel will come Daniel, Hosea, Joel, Amos. Let's see if we can add those now, and that gets us near the end. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, Daniel, Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. I really like the very, very end. They all are such unique names, and they're kind of fun to say. So let's just start at Obadiah and do the last little part. Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. All right, let's say those prophets again together and see if we can just get them down pat real well, because they're like the last bit of the hill till you get to the end. Ready to start with Obadiah? Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. Okay, let's put it all together. Ready to say them with me? Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Solomon, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, Daniel, Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. Now let's sing our New Testament books. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, Acts and the letter to the Romans, 1st and 2nd Corinthians, Galatians and Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, 1st and 2nd Timothy, Titus and Philemon, Hebrews, James, 1st and 2nd Peter, 1st and 2nd and 3rd John, Jude and Revelation. If you can say the Old Testament books and sing the New Testament books, that's great. If you want to just say the New Testament books without singing, that's great too. I hope to see every child's name at Walter Hill on our board. Have a great week and learn those books.